we could be alone between city lights. We don't have to hide. I wanna go, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? I can't understand why we can't hold hands, but they don't know what we have is real love. Aren't you sick and tired of having to hide? I know a place, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow?
What's up, you guys? Oh, I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm shaved. I fixed my, Welcome to stream. Oh, yeah, there we go. There we go. You need a Crocodile Dundee knife to, shave like that. I don't shave with a knife. What am I doing? I was trimming my neck hairs. Did I get the DJI drone? I guess we'll just have to wait and see. If I got it. Yeah, the good news is this live stream is not going to be interrupted by any uploads. Upload interrupted. Aww. Oh, upload interrupted. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. What? I don't know. Maybe I got it. Maybe I didn't. I guess we'll just never know. 184 gig of footage for one video. Eventually that embargo is going to lift, and then we'll find out just what. Eventually that embargo will lift. Who knows when that could be? I'll tell you something. Usually I'm not that far ahead of my schedule. You know what I mean? Like, usually I finish things at the last minute. So if I'm uploading that video today, When could the embargo lift? Some vendors have sent out the date. So I would not dare to violate. It's not a 10-minute long video. It's a 30-minute video. It's a long freaking review. But you're going to have to wait to find out. You are correct, Jeff Schubert. That is not White Claw. This is the finest beer sold at the gas station near my house. This is Highland Brewing in Asheville, North Carolina. How is a freaking Asheville, like, is this a microbrew? I don't know if it's a microbrew. How is, like, a specialty Asheville beer sold at the gas station near my house? I must be living right. Gaelic ale. 507RC says DJI released the date in their announcement the other day. They may have. I'm bad at keeping up with that kind of thing, so I just try to stay mum until I'm sure. What? What's this? What's this? I don't know, this is a pretty weird looking prop, isn't it? Huh. What could that be? I don't know. Not garlic ale, Gaelic ale. Gaelic ale. You know, like Ireland. Right? Ireland? Gaelic? Alrighty. Welcome to Livestream, everybody. We're going to do some Q&A. I'm a little bit out of practice because I did not do my live stream yesterday because I was busy gathering footage for various things. What's in the box all the way in the corner is just a box. It's an empty box of paper. That's literally all it is. I'm going to see if I can get back in the swing of things. Here's what I got going on my screen. This is you guys in the chat, and I'm going to be answering your questions. Just like J-Rod's World there, asking about that box in the corner. Nothing. It's an empty box. I don't know what was in it. CC Airsoft wants to know, is video out going to be a thing for the V1s? No one knows. DJI hasn't confirmed. There's no way to say. DJI has only confirmed that video out to smartphone will be for the V2s. Well, sorry, guys. So people are upset that I didn't do the Sunday stream. Bush League, whatever. You know, I just run my channel. I'm one guy. I do it all. You know. And I was like, oh, screw it. I'm not going to stream today. So what are you going to do about it? Nothing. These guys over here, I'm not ignoring the stream, Star Jumper. See? I see you, Star Jumper. There you go. I do, the problem is that the Discord does such a good job of chatting amongst themselves, I always feel like I'm interrupting. Can you write off FPV gear on tax for business use? Yep, I sure can. They write it off, Jerry. They write it off, Jerry! They write it off. I write it off. Is Bubby in the chat? Where's Bubby? Bean time? I don't see Bubby. Oh, there's Bubby. Why is Bubby not a moderator? Bubby, you need to be a moderator, dude. Let's make Bubby a moderator. There, Bubby's a moderator. Bubby, I saw you in the footage of that unreleased video that is being worked on. You killed it, man. You're looking good on the Rotorat channel. What happened to my wonderful face? Jason Kennedy said. I am letting people know that they can ask questions in the chat, and they can ask questions in the Discord if they are a patron. Whoa, ToddTube! No, ToddTube, don't do it! Don't do it, Todd! DJI will nuke us from orbit! What is that? I don't know what that is. What a weird looking drone. I've never seen that before. How do you work this thing? How do you work this thing? How do you, there we go. Okay. Whew. Okay, now.
Where we could go, where we could be.
You don't know what a write-off is, do you? They write it off, Jerry. They write it off. It's been a busy week. I've been heads down. I've not worked so hard in a long time on a video. It seems like a White Claw night, me drone. No White Claw tonight. Just this Gaelic ale. But you guys are always like, oh, Bardwell's being crazy. He must be drunk. I've only just started the beer. Look. This is just how I am. Who cares about the DJI drone? Asks TinkerTweak FPV. I can't decide if it's parentally appropriate for me to read your name out loud. I'm gonna go with it. TinkerTweak just retracted his message about the Insta360 Go V2. If you want to know about the Insta360 Go V2, there's going to be some stuff about it on the news. Because some stuff has leaked from the Insta360 website. And actually, Blunty tracked it down. So we'll be talking about that. If you fly with the Insta360, then you're going to be the Insta360 Go. Then you're going to be very interested in the Insta360 Go 2. If you don't fly with the Insta360 Go, then the Insta360 Go 2 is probably not going to change your mind about it. Bobby wants to know when we're going to see another flight video from me. I mean, hello. Did you miss this? Did you miss me just crushing it? Okay. This is getting worse and worse. Because now it's I cut this edit for YouTube Shorts, and YouTube wants the shorts to be tall. They want it to be tall aspect ratio. But I didn't want to. I tried cropping it down, and it just looked bad. So now we're going to watch this cropped 16:9 vertical. It's just all messed up. Going backwards the whole way, though. It's just all messed up. Look at this, Bubby. I posted this. I am a good pilot. It was sick. Thank you, Bubby. Going backwards through this gap 2-3 times in a row, baby. Now, how about this? Huh? How about this? No clip activated. That's right. Okay, let's see if I can power loop it. Boom! Power loop. All right. There you go. There's your flight edit. You're welcome. I was doing that with the Catalyst Machine Works, the Shocker Freestyle tank, and I just decided to do some impossible tricks to break it. And turns out I just did the impossible tricks. So there you go. Razor in the Discord wants to know, have you ever chased a household pet with a drone? I have annoyed my dog with a tiny whoop. I confess. Yeah, that counts. Numbskull FPV says, I'm looking forward to flying a 2806.5 Shocker. I don't know, man. Tell me what you think in the chat. I'm not convinced that there is ever a reason to fly 2806.5 on 5-inch props. It's such a big motor. And Catalyst Machine Works disagrees with me, and I respect their perspective. And, you know, when you have two people who are authoritative and smart and they both disagree, doesn't mean that one of them's wrong. It just means they're coming from a different perspective. But I can't see a reason why I would put 2806.5 on a 5-inch. Seems Seems like a lot. I want to thank Ciati. I don't think Ciati's here yet. He's going to be streaming after me, but I do want to thank him for my beautiful lava lamp that he sent me. You can see it, vaguely see it on the desk behind me, right over there. Ciati sent me that, so now it lives behind me. I have played hide and seek with children with a tiny whoop. Basically, it was actually a really fun game. I actually recommend this. If you're ever at like a family gathering with a bunch of children, get your tiny whoop out. And what I would do is they would chase the tiny whoop through the house, but I was faster than them because the tiny whoop came. And I would like fly behind somewhere and I'd land and hide. And then just as they would run into the room and try and find me. And then just as they found me, I'd take off and I'd fly into a different room and hide. It was really fun for me and for them, and a great way to just entertain some children. And, you know, eventually your tiny whoop will get stepped on, but that's life. But it was actually really, really fun. Now, the lava lamp is turned on, but the camera is not doing a good job of catching it because it's dark. You kind of can't see. But there you go. Was the Catalyst Machine Works tank tuned? Yeah, Ron Legend. That was Catalyst Machine Works' tune. Yeah, it was. They have a little bit of a different focus for their tune. I don't think that they are coming up with the same tune that like Mark Spatz might come up with. They have more of a perspective towards racing for their smaller quads and towards cinema for their larger quads. So their perspective when they tune is a little different. And I always fly on the tune that I'm given, unless I'm doing a tuning video, in which case I'll come up with my own tune. But Andrew Young says, is that hide and seek or is it tag? Good question. I would say it's hide and seek, because remember, when hide and seek, when they find you, then you have to run and touch base, right? Tiny Whoop's pretty safe, Matthew Stanton. It's not going to hurt anybody. The worst thing that can happen with a Tiny Whoop is it gets caught in somebody's hair. Like if you have long hair. That's pretty bad. Zipperlips FPV, thank you for a $5 super chat. Let's read some super chats. You guys can leave a super chat if you want me to read out your message or you want to make sure I get your question. I do take questions from the regular chat, and I do take questions from the Discord, but if you want to make sure I get it, because they go by very quickly, hit the $sign down here and leave a super chat, and I will read out your message. And so let's do some of that. Zipperlips FPV, thanks for $5. This is where we get JB's auditory impression of Jeremy Clarkson's smug face every time DJI is mentioned. Auditory impression of probably that was very timely, and now that it's 10 minutes after you left it, I don't know what we're referring to. Thank you, Joe CJ Rod, for $5 super chat. What are the pros and cons of notchy versus smooth motor magnets? I wish Ciati were here because he has strong opinions about notchy versus smooth motors. I will say that smooth motors are better for freestyle because they're smoother. And notchy motors, super notchy motors, you're more likely to get things like mid-throttle oscillation or little weird vibrations and twitches and stuff. Super notchy motors tend to have stronger magnets. It's not just the strength of the magnet that makes the motor notchy, but that's one of the things that makes it notchy. And I think that if you want a powerful motor, like for racing, then a lot of the really powerful motors may also tend to be more notchy. But that's not even 100% true, because there are powerful motors that are used for racing that are not particularly notchy. I know this, though. If you're interested in smooth freestyle, stay away from notchy motors. What's a notchy motor? Asks Bubby. You know how when you have a motor and you just turn it and it kind of goes click, 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 click? That's the magnets sort of settling into position relative to the stator. The notchier the motor, the worse for freestyle it's going to tend to be. The reason it's bad for freestyle, I may struggle to explain this concisely, but the ESC, in order to spin the motor smoothly, the ESC has to energize the stator with electricity and magnetism proportional to the strength of the magnet on the bell. And if the magnets have a smooth magnetic field, then it is easier for the ESC to smoothly spin the motor. Like, imagine that the magnetic field is basically like a straight sine wave. Then it'll be easy for the ESC to sort of predict how strong it needs to sort of pull and time and so forth. With the super notchy motors, it's harder for it to get that right. That's the gist of it. It's probably not the gist of it. Somewhere out there's an expert on ESCs who says I'm getting it wrong. License to Drive says Ciati has talked a lot about notchy motors on his live streams. I know it's a pet project of his, or a pet topic of his. So if you want to know more about notchy motors, ask Ciati. He's going to be streaming after me tonight. I believe he usually does. So how do you know if motors are notchy or smooth before you buy them? You don't. You really can't. Like Brother Hobby. Brother Hobby motors are usually super notchy, especially their smaller motors. You just know that from experience. Really, you just need to find people who review the motors and they'll talk about it. Again, Ciati's great for reviewing, especially micro motors. He's got a lot of opinions about them, and is a great resource. Scott Steely, thanks for a $10 super chat. Have you heard of a DJI system that is with air unit, transmitter, and goggle range only being 300 yards before it fail-safes? I have 5 air units in the same using 700 or 1,000. What should I test? Here's one thing you can test, Scott Steely. A 300-yard range is actually maybe about right for 25 milliwatts. When you arm your quad, do you see the word unlocked in the goggle? That tells you that the air unit has detected that you've armed. The air units come shipped with thermal protection on by default. And what that means is that if the quad is not armed, they stay at 25 milliwatts. Now, it's hard to imagine that you made this mistake on 5 different quads, so this is kind of a long shot. But it is a mistake that people have made. They don't wire up the MSP connection, the TX and RX wires, or they don't set the ports tab up correctly. And then when they arm the quad, the air unit doesn't know that they've armed, and it stays at 25 milliwatts. The workaround for this is to get the MSP connection working correctly. You'll know that is the case when you see VBAT in the lower right corner of the goggles. If you see VBAT in the lower right corner of the goggles, then you know that that's all working correctly. Or you can turn the temperature protection off, which will cause it to just stay at whatever power you set. The other thing I would look at is, are you getting video failsafe or controller failsafe, or both? The goggles will show you your video and your controller RSSI. And you see if one of them is low or which one is fail-safing. For example, your controller could just be broken. Louis Lima wants to know, how much flight time can a freestyle drone have? Typical freestyle drones have between, let's say, 3 and 5 minutes of flight time. To get more than about 5 minutes, you're making some serious compromises, either in terms of durability. So, for example, you can have a lightweight 4-inch freestyle drone that could go for 7 or 8 minutes, but it's going to be lighter, it's not going to have the same power, and it's not going to have the same durability. You could take a typical 5-inch quad and put like an 1,800 milliamp hour or a 2,200 milliamp hour battery on it, and then it's going to get a lot of flight time, but it's not going to have any get up and go. So 3 to 5 minutes is pretty typical, and if you're trying to get longer than that, you probably are making some compromises in terms of performance. What I like to say is, if you want more flight time, buy more batteries. Nobody looks at a freaking Ferrari, a freaking Mustang GT500 and says, you know, that's a pretty good car, but it only gets 12 miles to the gallon, so I think I'm going to pass. You don't, you know, you have a powerful performance aircraft. It flies for 3 to 5 minutes. If you feel like 3 to 5 minutes is not long enough flight time, you are not flying aggressively enough. Fly so aggressively that at the end of 3 to 5 minutes, you're like, I need a break, man. And then you'll be fine. That's how to get longer flight time. It's LMMI in the Discord wants to know, have you heard about TBS Tracer having fail-safe issues due to some internal issue with Betaflight? No, I have not. I do know that Immersion RC Ghost was having issues with SRXL2 protocol and Betaflight, where something about the Betaflight driver code for the SRXL2 protocol was not compatible with Ghost. Like, Ghost was actually driving the SRXL2. I don't remember the exact thing, but it was causing fail-safes. And Immersion RC submitted a pull request, and Betaflight supposedly fixed it. So I wouldn't be surprised to learn that as protocols like Tracer push to faster and faster protocol rates, it uncovers bugs in Betaflight that have never been uncovered before. If anybody knows more about that, can you email news@fpvknowitall.com and let us know. We'll talk about it on the news, or we'll research it a little more. ND says that was Ghost, not Tracer. Well, yeah, like I just said, there was a known issue with Ghost and SRXL2 causing failsafe. But if there was a Tracer issue, that would be interesting to know about. Recursive FPV, thanks for a $5 super chat. Thanks for answering my annoying questions earlier this week. I just want to show my appreciation for this super chat. Thank you very much, Recursive. Bandalorian, thanks for a $5 super chat. I've been chasing an issue with 2 KISS builds that both have nose lift when I pump the throttle, any levels of throttle, not just hard punch. Bandalorian, I appreciate your super chat. I'm sorry I'm not going to be a lot of help on this. I have very little experience tuning KISS. In Betaflight, if you have a problem like that, you would use anti-gravity is the feature in Betaflight that helps with that. There are other features that can help with that. In KISS, like KISS's philosophy is keep it simple. So there's basically like a PID loop, and then there aren't a lot of other solutions to specific problems. Their goal seems to just be to make a flight controller that flies really well, and that's great, and it often does. But the thing with KISS was when it doesn't fly really well, then you don't have a lot of, like, there's no secret panel to pull apart and expose these other knobs and dials. They're like, don't touch that. Get your hand out of there. Certainly, thank you, Crunk, for the suggestion. That's, I was going to say, if all you've got is a PID controller to try to control nose lift, then raising the I term is a thing to do. The I gain generally relates to the stability of the quad in response to external changes. The thing is that, at least in Betaflight, if you were to crank the I term to try and solve that problem, you would introduce other problems. But Crunk knows a lot about tuning. Crunk says raise the I gain to 0.080. So give that a try, Bandalorian, and Crunk, I owe you a $5 super chat. Raise pitch I gain to 0.080 and TPA I to 0. Slat FPV, I don't agree with that statement. Slat says, I feel like KISS just does that. It's really not a problem. Just steer the quad. Absolutely not. The ideal PID controller would completely decouple each of the axes from each other. So raising and lowering the throttle should not cause the pitch roller yaw axis to change at all. That's the PID controller's job. Other people say balance your quad. Yeah, I mean, in theory, the PID loop should be able to take care of an off-center CG, but maybe not. Maybe it's way off-center. Tyler Grogan. Tyler Grogan must be new to the channel. This guy might know what he's talking about drones, but he don't know jack about putting Marlin 2.0. I mean, I do have a tutorial about that. Did you follow it? And did it go wrong? I mean, I don't know a lot, but I did make a tutorial about it. It worked for me. Anyway, whatever. No, you're right. I don't know a lot about 3D printing. You're 100% right about that. Oh no, they found me out. It turns out I'm not an expert on a topic that I've only been doing for like a year. But my tutorial is on point. It's on point. Thank you, Zipper Lips FPV, for another $5 super chat. We bypass you. Thank you for 10 euros. What can it be that I bind a new air unit and I just have 3 to 8 megabit bit rate? Use the stock antennas with the other unit. I have 19.8 megabit. Probably the antenna is not fully inserted or the antenna connector is damaged. We bypass you. Since you have one air unit that is working correctly, you know the goggles are okay. Excuse me. You know the goggles are fine, so it must be the air unit. I would reach out to DJI support and they may say, oh, you need to replace it. Zaush Kambata wants to know, can I use Tracer without OpenTX? No, I don't think so, no. Ciati's here! Ciati's here! Hey, Ciati. Ciati, somebody earlier in the stream was asking about notchy versus smooth motors, and I was like, I wish Ciati were here. CC Airsoft says, I'm trying to tune out jello when I'm falling and apply throttle. CC Airsoft, I would want to start with a definition of what jello is. Because when you're falling and you apply throttle and the quad goes, that's not jello. That's prop wash oscillation. And it only matters, I'm not trying to nitpick, but it matters because if you're going to communicate, you have to sort of agree on what the terms are. So jello is, number one, jello is not like specifically going to happen like in sharp turns or when the quad is falling. Jello is going to happen at certain throttle positions usually. Sometimes at all throttle positions, but usually it's worse at certain throttle positions. And it'll look like a kind of waviness, a rippliness. They call it jello because if you think about looking through a big block of jello and then you like slap the jello and it kind of goes, whoop, 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 that's jello. That's what your video looks like. So that's prop wash oscillation. And what you can do is get RPM filtering working, move your filter sliders as far to the right as possible without getting hot motors or signs of flyaway, and raise your D gain. Those are the things. Ciati says he has a video about notchy motors. Well, I'll be the judge of that. Ciati, you're a moderator. Can you just post the link to the video? Please do. Zorko262, thank you. By the way, sorry for sniffling on the stream. What are you going to do? It is what it is. Zorko262 says 3D printing isn't easy. There's a ton of variables that Josh's video won't walk you through. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't pretend to be more of an expert than I am. So at the same time, I can make a tutorial that shows you how to do A, B, and C. And then if you need more information, you go to a 3D printing channel like Teaching Tech or Maker's Muse or whatever, right? But like, as long as my take on it is that as long as the information in my video is correct and complete, then it's okay to release a tutorial without being a complete expert on a topic. There are a lot of people on the internet who are not experts on a topic who release videos with incorrect or incomplete information that mislead people. And it's a problem, because as long as you speak with confidence and sound like you're telling the truth, people will believe you. They'll be like, oh my God, I saw this amazing recipe on TikTok. What you do is you take the dry spaghetti pasta and you throw it right in the tomato sauce, and you just cook it in the tomato sauce. It saves you a step. It's like, no, do not do that. Do not do that. That's stupid. I actually saw that on TikTok. I think it was a joke, but I'm not 100% sure. So what I try to do when I got into 3D printing and I started making 3D printing tutorials, I started by saying I'm not an expert at 3D printing. I am learning, and it's going to sound dumb because everybody's like, let's make a martial arts analogy. It's such a stereotype, but I took martial arts for a while early at a different time of my life. And what I learned at that school was that the word sensei, a lot of people translate the word sensei as teacher. At that school, they would say the word sensei means someone who has come before you. I don't know if that's true in like Japanese, but that's what they told me. And I liked it because their philosophy was that if you're like a green belt, then you can be a mentor to the yellow belts. And if you're a brown belt, you can be a mentor to the green belts. And if you're a black belt, you can be a mentor. So everyone who is coming after you on the path of education, wherever you are, it's your responsibility to help bring them up to your level. So when I start learning about 3D printing, as soon as I learn a chunk of information, I'm going to make a video about it. And I'm going to try real hard to make sure there's no sneaky, incorrect information in that video that I don't know is incorrect because I'm a noob. But then as long as I succeed at that, I'm going to put a video out, even though I'm not an expert. I did not take Taekwondo. I took Jiu-Jitsu, please. I took an actual martial art that's useful in real life. Ooh, did he just? I did. Come at me, Taekwondo. No, don't come at me. You kick me in the face. Anyway. I'm not offended. Hello, FPV. I'm just teasing, man. I got to get a couple more super chats. I'll get some more questions coming in, but I got to get a couple more super chats. They're stacking up. Paul Fornage, thank you for a $2 super chat. Configurator only sees 2 motors and they don't beep. Paul Fornage, if the motors don't beep at all, like not even doot-doot, then the ESC is just dead. Sorry. If you get doot-doot but not doot-doot, that could be a signal wire problem, but it also could be a dead ESC. Random Bigfoot Adventures, thanks for 99 cents. Keith Moore, thank you for a $10 super chat. Just got all my quads flying. Now I'm looking to build another. What are your thoughts on the Catalyst Machine Works Massive Droner? The Massive Droner, is that the 3-inch? I actually have the Massive Droner is the 2.5-inch. I have a review of the 3-inch one. I think it's good. I really liked it. It's not sub 250. It's a little bit of a hassle to live with. And I feel like a broken record when I say that. I say it about all Catalyst Machine Works frames. They are high performance frames, but they're a little bit of a hassle to live with on a daily basis because when they break, repairing them is fiddly, and keeping spare parts on hand is fiddly. And the only reason I say that is because I actually really like their frames for what they are, and I'm glad frickin' not Bugatti. Who's that frickin' Italian supercar who makes the crazy cars? Like, those are not cars that I would drive on a daily basis, but they're amazing cars, and I'm so glad that they're in the world. And that's kind of how I feel about Catalyst frames. But every time I review a Catalyst frame, there are people in the chat who are like, yeah, but man, you got to, like, there's so many parts to keep spares of, and then when it breaks, it's so fiddly. and I feel like it's important to not like whitewash that. Koenigsegg. That's not Italian though. Koenigsegg. It is in fact Pagani. That's who I was thinking of. I was when I said Italian, I was thinking of Pagani, but I think I was actually thinking of Koenigsegg, who is not Italian. But you got the idea. Pagani, Koenigsegg, like Koenigsegg. Okay, a Koenigsegg. Let's look at a Koenigsegg car. Any minute now. Their cars are fast, but their website is slow. Yeah, these freaking cars are unreal. They're unreal cars in terms of performance. They're not daily drivers. And in fact, you would probably hate them if you tried to daily drive them because of how weird they are. But they're amazing cars. And that's somewhat how I feel about Catalyst frames. They're very well engineered, very refined. They perform. And the minute you break an arm or you break a plate and you're like, I got to take all these screws out. What a hassle. But for a lot of people, it's worth it. There you go. That's my take. A turbo Civic with VTEC would beat a Koenigsegg? Get out of here, Blind FPV. I'm sure you're joking. Pagani. That's the other one. GD Pilot in the Discord wants to know, is it okay to have different BLHeli32 software on the same ESC hardware? Let's take a look at what this question is about. What we've got here is iFlight BL32 Pro, BL32 Pro, iFlight 8S BL32, and BL32 Pro. What the heck is going on here? It's especially weird because they're all 32.7. Like, it would not be unheard of to change the name of a firmware between two firmware versions. Like, how did this even happen? I'm gonna guess, like, obviously, like the quad flies, right? I'm gonna guess that this is just like maybe a pre-release firmware or an internal build that somehow got flashed on this. So Ciati and Crunked are arguing in the chat about whether Nachi motors are worse. Remember what I said before about when two people who are authority have a difference of opinion. It doesn't mean one of them is wrong. If Crunked says that Nachi motors make no difference, I believe him. If Ciati says that Nachi motors make a difference, I believe him. Both of these guys are just coming from different perspectives. Ciati may have seen different motors. There may be different things about the build. There may be things that Ciati sees that Crunk doesn't, or that Crunk doesn't think are important. No reason for anybody to walk away from that other than to just say, hey, you know, respect, and there you go. Frank Nicholas, thanks for a $20 super chat. $20 super chat. Good enough to get the orange. Thank you, Frank. Thanks for listening to my rants about the DJI V2 goggles battery pack and responding to so many emails. Frank is really mad that DJI used the USB-C connector on their goggle battery pack because it is not actually a USB connection. It's just DC power output. And Frank really feels like this is a travesty and a crime against humanity, if I could exaggerate just a little bit. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. I mean, it's just not USB. They just used a USB connector for something that isn't USB. Which, like, should they have used something different? Sure. I actually originally assumed that battery pack was also just a USB power bank. Right? But it isn't. It's just a 9-volt power supply with a battery in it. Thank you, Adam Hickson, for a $10 super chat. What UART or soft serial configuration should I use for Crossfire, DJI Vista, and GPS with only 2 full hardware UARTs? I'm adding GPS to a Mamba F405 Mini Mark II and a Bardwell F4 AIO V2. Okay, well, the Bardwell one I know I can do. I think. Oh, maybe not. Maybe not. Oh, so the Bardwell F4 flight controller, it's an F4, as the name suggests. And it is restrictive in what you can do with the UARTs because F4 processors can't handle inversion. And we made some compromises when we laid this out. So typically you would put Crossfire on UART 6, T6R6. Let me see if I can zoom this in. Hold on. Make this a little bigger for you guys watching this on mobile. So typically you would put Crossfire on UART 6. You would put GPS on UART 4. And now you are screwed. You cannot do your DJI connection. And the problem is that you need a full TX and RX connection for all 3 of those things. Crossfire uses TX and RX for control and telemetry. GPS uses TX and RX, and the DJI Cadix Vista uses TX and RX. And on the JBF4, there actually isn't a good solution for this. Because like one way to work around it would be to remap LED strip as soft serial, but that only gives you a TX or an RX, not both. And by the way, if you use TX4 and RX4, you will not be using ESC telemetry on RX4 either, so you're giving that up. And there isn't another pad you can remap very easily. You might think, oh, well, couldn't I remap one of these 2 UARTs? The telemetry is UART 3 and S-Bus is UART 1. No, you can't remap that because they have an inverter hard-coded. And it's also, you usually, you might be able to remap S-Bus on the JBF4. S-Bus on JBF4 has an inverter, but it's a switchable inverter. So maybe you could turn S-Bus into RX and LED strip into TX for soft serial. That's a long shot, though. I would use that for GPS probably, if anything. What I would do if I were you, and get a new flight controller was not an option, is I would put Crossfire on S-Bus. Crossfire uses 2 TX and RX, but if you just omit one of them, you don't get telemetry. So you would do Crossfire wire IO1 to S-Bus, and that gives you Crossfire control without telemetry. And then you have 2 full UARTs for GPS and DJI. You could try soft serial on S-Bus and LED strip and see if that gives you an RX and a TX. But I think S-Bus may not work. So that's your workaround there. What about the Mamba F405 Mini? Hold on. The Mamba F405 Mini Mark II. They usually have pretty good wiring diagrams from these. Please direct link to the actual page. Where's the Mamba F405 Mini? Nowhere. Where's the pad layout? Okay, I can't find it. F405 Mark II Mini. So then we go to the Help Center. And we look for product manual and diagram. Mini Mark II. Here we go. This is the F405 Mini Mark II. And basically, oh, here we go. UART 1 for S-Bus, UART 3 for VTX, UART 6 for telemetry. it also only has 3 UARTs. So we've got TX6 and RX6 for Crossfire, TX3 and RX3 for GPS. And then, again, we just have S-Bus for UART1. Do we have an RX1? You're in the same situation, I'm afraid. Now, the good news is you've got a PPM pad here. PPM can remap to soft serial, and LED can remap to soft serial. So on this flight controller, that's probably what I would try to do. I would remap PPM and LED to soft serial and try and put my GPS on that. It might work. There's a fair chance that will work. Zaosh Kambata wants to know, what are all the pads that can be remapped for soft serial? Good question. Well, oh, come on. Here we go. I have a tutorial I made. Look at that color grade. Oh, man. My color grade used to be so brutal. Like, I thought it looked so good, but look at it. Oh, it's so brutal. Look how bad that color grade is. It was my fault. It was not my editor's fault. It was my fault. I was giving him garbage. He was doing his best with it. So bad, though. Anyway, this is the video you want. Zausch. What can you remap where? That's the answer. Let's see here. Coelho FPV, thanks for a $10 super chat. Is it okay to have different BLHeli32 software on the same ESC hardware? Yeah, I got that. I answered that. Thank you for the super chat. I got it from the Discord. You could try to reflash it, and it'll probably be fine, but it's probably fine already. Did I have more hair? I don't think I had more hairline then. I can't believe. Well, 2019. Maybe I did. 2019 was a long time ago. Let's see. It's not. I'm not going to have the exact angle, though. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. Probably. Riding Durance, thanks for a $10 super chat. What are some things to watch out for when switching from Betaflight to KISS using DJI and Crossfire for both? You're asking the wrong dude. I'm really sorry, Riding Durance. What are some things to watch out for when switching from Betaflight to KISS? Like what are some gotchas? I don't know. With KISS, if you want to do DJI, don't you have to pay extra for the FetTech firmware from Fader Commander's Patreon? Does KISS, doesn't standard KISS not do DJI OSD and you have to pay extra for it? There's nothing to look out for. KISS is perfect. You definitely do not want to use a KISS flight controller with BLHeli ESCs. In my opinion, KISS flight controllers and KISS ESCs are made to work together. You're more likely to have bad flight characteristics, random weirdness, that then you'll be like, I'm having this weird problem and I need to PID tune it. KISS flight controllers are really optimized to work with KISS ESCs. ZFPV says the current KISS GUI version does support DJI. Okay. It's free now. Okay, it was paid, but now it's free. Okay, good to know. I'll file that away. Yeah. So I would definitely use a KISS ESC with a KISS flight controller. The other thing is, thank you, ZFPV, thank you. Wrong, says ZFPV. BLHeli works great with KISS. Once again, two people with a difference of opinion are coming at it from a different experience. I spend a lot of time helping a lot of people, and I've seen people using BLHeli ESCs with KISS flight controllers who are having weird like oscillations and stuff. And I think to myself, when you're using KISS ESCs, you never have these problems. The other thing, ZFPV, which I was going to say, the other reason to stay away from BLHeli ESCs is that KISS doesn't support Betaflight pass-through, right? Am I wrong about that? Has that changed as well? So what that means is that if you're using BLHeli ESCs with a KISS flight controller, how do you flash and configure the BLHeli ESCs? I don't think there's a good solution for that. If there is a solution, ZFPV says correct. Yeah, so the big, I think that KISS flight controllers usually have fewer problems when used with KISS ESCs. It doesn't mean that you can't use BLHeli ESCs successfully, and some people do. But in general, if you're going to use a KISS flight controller, I would think you'd be more likely to get a better result with a KISS ESC. And that makes sense because they are tuned together. The other thing is that if you do use BLHeli ESCs with a KISS flight controller, you're going to have to figure out a solution for flashing and configuring them, and there isn't a good solution. And that alone would keep me away from it. Ken Mack asks, does the JBF7 have a current sensor? No, because it's not an all-in-one flight controller. When you're using an AIO flight controller, the ESC current flows through the flight controller's current sensor. When you're using a standard flight controller with a 4-in-1 ESC, the motor current doesn't go through the flight controller. So the typical way to do that is you don't have a current sensor on the flight controller. What would it measure? It wouldn't have anything to measure. Rather you get the current data from the ESC using ESC telemetry or analog current sense. So if you're using the JBF7, it should use ESC telemetry, but be aware that ESC telemetry usually doesn't have current data in it. So you should be using, with the JBF7, I think you should be using analog current sense. That doesn't sound right. Saying that it ships. See, look at that beautiful color. Look at that. Look at that. See, look at that color. That's good. That's sharp, man. So sharp, so pretty. Hello. Where are we at? Where's the manual? Where's the manual? Yeah, dude. There we go. How did I miss that? I have this stupid manual on my hard drive. I don't know why I went to the web to get it, but there you go. Now let me remind myself so I get this right. Where's the ESC? Yeah, see the default, notice the default ports tab layout does not have ESC sensor enabled. And where is the ESC pinout? Come on. Here we go. Yeah. Now notice that the 4-in-1 plug it has both R4 and current, but where's the where's the ESC? Where's the ESC? Dang it. Where's the ESC then? Nope. Come back. Come back. Give me this pinout. iFlight 50 amp 4-in-1 ESC. Where's the dang pinout? I mean, I know the answer, but I just want to confirm it, so I'm not like telling you guys wrong. No. Here's the dead answer. Notice that this ESC has a single current sensor. It's got one big current sensor, that means that this ESC does analog current sense only. If the ESC did current sense in ESC telemetry, it would have 4 separate current sensors, one for each motor. So the JB flight controller should be configured for analog current sense, not ESC telemetry. And if it isn't, I am shocked, because that would be how we tested it and delivered it. Anyway, that's the answer. All digital FPV, very good question. By the way, I see more super chats are coming in. I will get back to them. All digital FPV says, on Rotor Riot's Bind and Fly Quad page, they say battery voltage auto tune. The HD1 comes pre-tuned for 4S or 6S. We've taken the guesswork out of tuning drones by having the flight controller auto detect what voltage you're using, and then switching the PID profile based on the input voltage. Is this true, or is it kind of BS? No, it's true. Check this out. Any minute now. Any minute now. There we go. If you go into the PID tuning tab, down here, there's a cell count parameter. The cell count of 0 means any cell voltage. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take cell count and put 4 and save. And then I'm going to choose PID profile 3. Okay? Or sorry, in PID profile 1, I choose cell count of 4. You guys can't see the PID profile. Let me zoom out. So in PID profile 1, I set that to be cell count 4. Now PID profile 1 will be loaded anytime I plug in a 4-cell battery. If I go to PID profile 2 and choose cell count 6 and save, now PID profile 2 will be loaded anytime I plug in a 6-cell battery. And then PID profile 3 with a 0, that's going to be my default PID profile that'll be used if neither a 4 nor a 6 cell is plugged in, which I don't know why you would do that, but there you go. So Rotor Riot has basically created different PID profiles for 4S or 6S, and you can plug in either. Probably what they're doing is, let's say they have 2400 kV motors. What you could do is you could say, when you get a 6-cell battery, take the motors down by 1/3. And what that's going to do is it's going to make your 6-cell battery act like a 4-cell battery. And perhaps that's what Rotor Riot's doing. But no, all digital FPV, it is not BS. That it is legit. General Squirrels, thanks for a $2 super chat. When will the new drone be in people's hands? I don't know. Whenever it releases. And then whenever it ships. And then whenever USPS brings it to you. Exploding Evo, thank you for a $10 super chat. Oh my God, we have so many super chats. Buy a newbie drone USB-C cable and a RAV power to 20,000 milliamp hour power bank, and everything in your life will get better. Exploding Evo, that will not work with the DJI goggles. The DJI goggles need at least 2S input. Okay? So if you have a power bank, it will not deliver 7 volts, 9 volts, whatever. Now you may say, what about USB power delivery? Yes, USB power delivery can deliver up to, I think, 12 volts, maybe more. But the DJI goggle is not a USB PD device. That USB power bank will not output anything. So, no, that will not work. The best thing to do if you've got the DJI Goggle V2 is to get an XT60 to barrel connector and just use a 4S, 5S, or even a 6S flight pack. Space Cowboy says USB PD is up to 20 volts. Good to know. John Solo wants to know in the Discord, wants to know if you're flying Crossfire in dynamic mode at 250 milliwatts, how far would you expect to go before it switched to mode 1? In open space, a few hundred yards. not a kilometer. That's what I would say. I just made that up. I've done some range tests and saw where it switched, but I wasn't like in completely open space. There were trees, but I would say a few hundred yards. Now, if you lock Crossfire to mode 2, then you can go much further before you failsafe. But Crossfire is very conservative about switching from mode 2 to mode 1. So as soon as it starts to even like get, basically mode 2 is mostly intended for racing where you're at short range anyway. Crossfire switches to mode 1 way earlier than it actually has to, just because it doesn't want to let you fail safe. So I typically fly locked at mode 2, 250 milliwatts or maybe higher, and I seldom even get an LQ warning. 250 milliwatts mode 2 can go as far as a typical 600 or 800 milliwatt video transmitter, no problem. But if you're in dynamic, it will switch back to mode 1 pretty freaking early. Some people in the chat are saying that there are, Frank Nicholas, there are USB-C PD power banks. The cable has the electronic in it. I guess that's possible. That you would have a USB. You're saying that You're saying that the newbie drone cable. I see. I'm catching up now. Okay, newbie drone's been clever here. It's a Type-C PD goggles cable. So this cable has the electronics in it to trick a USB-C power delivery power bank into outputting 9 volts or 12 volts. That's very clever. However, that still will not work with the DJI goggles. Because the DJI goggles, but that does answer Exploding Evo's question about the newbie drone USB-C cable. So Exploding Evo, you were right. The RAV Power 20,000 milliamp hour power bank and the newbie drone cable will work, because the newbie drone cable will trick the power bank into outputting the right voltage. But the newbie drone cable will not work with the DJI power bank, because the DJI power bank is not a USB PD device. It simply outputs LiPo voltage. And here's why that's important. The goggles need to know when the supply battery is getting low. So if you have a USB-C power bank and you're using this cable, you will just see 12 volts in the goggles until the power bank dies. Now, maybe the power bank will have some kind of a beeping or something to warn you. But what DJI wanted was for the goggles to see the actual battery voltage so they could tell you when the voltage was getting low. And that's why they designed their battery bank to be how it is. John Solo, I agree. Setting a warning when dynamic mode switches to mode 1 is pointless. It is interesting to know when it switches. You may be surprised at how close you are when it switches to mode 1 and learn something interesting, but there's no reason to think about it. If you're in dynamic mode, just assume that whenever you get even remotely far away, that it's switching down to mode 1, and then mode 1 will just go for freaking ever. But if you care about latency, lock it into mode 2 and don't let it drop to mode 1. Remember that when you have it locked in mode 2, the LQ target is about 40, not 70 or 80 like it is when you're in mode 1. Okay. Aaron Unruh, thank you for a $10 super chat. I'd like a YouTuber to make a simple video about legal flying in the USA. I'm stuck between ignoring the rules and trying to follow them. Any thoughts? So let's see if we can break it down. How simple can you make legal flying in the USA? Let me try. Should make a video about this. Let's see what I leave out and what I get wrong. If you are over 250 grams, you have to register the drone at FAAdronezone.com. For recreational flyers, it's $5. You get a number, and you put that number on all your drones over 250 grams. It's a $5 fee. I'm going to assume you're recreational here, okay? If it's under 250 grams, you do not have to register it. You're good. You are expected to maintain visual line of sight with the drone at all times. If not you, then a spotter. Is that true? Is it possible to fly? Actually, that's not true, is it? You cannot... Recreational pilots, are they allowed to do FPV under USA law? They may not be. I actually... See, I think if you fly FPV, you actually are expected to have a 107. Oops. All right, so you need to get a 107 if you fly FPV and you want to be legal. I think that's true. The chat will catch up with me in a minute and they'll weigh in. But how about middle fingers in the air and just fly anyway, says Mike Bergman. Yeah, fine, Mike, but he said he wanted to be legal. 507RC says recreational can do FPV with a spotter. Is that true? Maybe it's true. 507RC usually knows what he's talking about. All right. With a collate, I thought you needed a 107 to fly FPV at all. I thought there was no recreational rule that let you fly FPV, but I could be wrong. Other people in the chat are saying you can fly FPV with a spotter. Okay, so let's assume that that's true. Flying recreationally, if you have goggles on your face, you need to have a spotter who maintains visual line of sight with the quad at all times. Now, that's a little tricky because, like, if you fly behind a tree or fly behind a building, technically they've lost line of sight. So what are you going to do? You're technically not supposed to do that. Do you need a ham radio license? Yes, you do. That has nothing to do with the FAA, though. That's the FCC. All of the analog video transmitters we use require a ham license. If you're flying DJI, it's Part 15 certified, and you don't need a ham license. 507RC says, in the past, you could not legally fly recreational without a 107, but sometime around 2018, he says it changed. Okay, I will take that out and assume that I was right before 2018. Dauntless FPV says, over 25 milliwatts. No, that is incorrect. Sorry, Dauntless, you're wrong. You're wrong there. If you're flying analog in the USA at any power output, you need a ham license. There is no 25 milliwatt exemption in the USA. In Europe, there is. So, what about airspace? Here's the simplest thing to do. Download the Kitty Hawk app and just open it up and it'll tell you if you're allowed to fly where you are. That's the simplest thing to do. And it's safe to do that because, like, my house is in Class G airspace, so I'm legally allowed to fly where I am without, like, any special permission. But, like, theoretically, there could be a temporary flight restriction, a TFR, that applied to my area. No, there probably never would be. But let's say the president decided to fly over my house for some stupid reason. There would be a TFR, and if I flew, I mean, I might just go outside and be like, yeah, I'm going to fly. But if you make a habit of checking in the Kitty Hawk, or there's another app called AirMap, both of these are good apps. If you check in the Kitty Hawk or the AirMap app, they will tell you if you're allowed to fly in this area, and it's just a great check to do. So, that is, I think, a brief summary of legal flying in the USA. Recreational flying, anyway. Commercial flying, 107 flying, gets a lot more complicated. What about after dark? Can recreational pilots fly after dark without a waiver? And do they need a beacon? I'm sure they must need a beacon. I believe that recreational pilots don't need a waiver to fly after dark, but they are supposed to, I would assume they're expected to have a beacon that makes the drone visible within 3 statute miles, which is a bright frickin' beacon. If you just have some LEDs on your arms, you are not satisfying the requirement to have a beacon on your drone. Recreational can fly after dark, just have to keep line of sight. And you can keep line of sight by having that 3 statute mile beacon. You can't fly over people. That's a good point. Is that true? Paul Fornage, what's the... I know the 107 rules better than the recreational rules because I'm essentially always flying as a 107. And there are things that 107s are not allowed to do that recreational pilots actually can get away with, like night flying. Can recreational pilots fly over people? I would guess that you can't. I'm not sure. The chat will catch up. 107 pilots are not allowed to fly directly over people. They're not allowed to fly from a vehicle except if they're in a remote area. So yeah, there are can't fly over moving vehicles. There are some other requirements there, but that's the gist of it. If you want to fly legally, here's how I would sum it up: register at FAADroneZone.com and check with Kitty Hawk or AirMap before you fly. That's a good. As far as visual requirement, you are supposed to have a spotter. Many people fly without a spotter. It seems unlikely that anyone could ever prove that you didn't have a spotter unless you were a real bonehead about it. So it feels like if your goal is to reduce the likelihood of getting in trouble, that flying without a spotter is a thing that many people do and don't stress about. Your ears do not count as a spotter. I saw that question. Chaos says the drone needs to be line of sight for recreational. I believe the interpretation is that having a spotter who is co-located with you counts as keeping the drone in line of sight. Anyway, there you go. Max Plastics talking about that DJI battery in the Discord. DJI's battery has no USB-C anything. It waits until it sees DJI's cable before it even turns on. That is correct. The battery will not even turn on until you plug in the exact DJI cable that it's expecting. And then it outputs native voltage to the goggles. I mean, you can measure the voltage using the barrel connector. Lone Star UAV says Kitty Hawk and AirMap are irrelevant. Before You Fly is the official app from the FAA. That is a correct statement, but the Before You Fly app does not include all potential restrictions, and Kitty Hawk and AirMap are more complete. Kitty Hawk and AirMap are actually more authoritative than the Before You Fly app. Shocker, the official government app is less effective and useful than the private apps. Like, does Before You Fly always include TFRs? I can't remember what Before You Fly leaves out. I stopped using Before You Fly once I found Kitty Hawk and AirMap, because I found that Kitty Hawk and AirMap included more information. The Hamster 576 says, F DJI, they're going to monopolize the industry and be the only option eventually. See if you still think that's true when you see the videos come out about the FPV drone. See if you think that the DJI FPV drone is a threat to FPV as we know it. Huh. Adam822 says, oh, very interesting, Adam. Thank you for that. Adam822 in the Discord says, going back to the question about ESC telemetry, the JBF7 ships with ESC telemetry enabled on UART 4, but it is set to use onboard ADC in the power and battery tab. That is the correct configuration. Thanks for confirming that, Adam. If you were to use the JBF7 with an ESC that did telemetry, it would be on UART 4, and that's why ESC telemetry is enabled on UART 4. However, the ESC that ships with the JBF7 uses analog And that's why it's set to onboard ADC in the power and battery tab. So that confirms that the configuration of the JBF7 is correct. All right. Interesting. Ken Mack says, interesting. Ken Mack, if the JBF7 DJI has ESC sensor selected as the current meter, I don't think that's correct. If you're using the iFlight ESC, you can turn off ESC on UART4, and you should use onboard ADC, not ESC sensor. I'm going to pass this back to the folks at iFlight and see if that needs to be changed. Let me 1 second to paste that before I forget. All right. Thanks, Ron Grant, for a $5 super chat. Ron, I saw you say that your question did not get included in the super chat. I also think you are in the Discord. Ron Grant, if you want to re-ask your question in the Discord, I will try to pay attention and catch it. Thanks for your super chat. Cozy FPV, thanks for a $5 super chat. Thanks for reviewing the Drone Saver. What did you think of the new version? thedronesaver.com. Oh, what a way to get your product onto my live stream. The Drone Saver. How to get a drone out of a tree. Ah, yeah, the Drone Saver. I see. Oh, I'm even on the webpage. How about that? The Drone Saver is an extendable fiberglass pole that helps you get drones out of a tree. I included in my video 17 best ways to get a quad out of a tree. I worked my ass off for this video. I hope you guys enjoy it. I will say that my Drone Saver is no longer in one piece. You could call it user error if you like. So the Drone Saver comes with a hook on the end. Let me see if I can find. Oh, great. It has. Let me right click and mess with your website. It comes with a hook on the end that is kind of like this. That's not the exact one. Maybe more like this. I was trying to get a drone out of a tree, and it hooked over the branch. And once it hooked over the branch, I could not get it off the branch. And the reason for that is that it's telescoping. So I couldn't push it. You see what I'm saying? It was impossible to push it because the thing would just collapse. So I basically just pulled on it as hard as I could and eventually ripped it off the end and broke it. So, yeah, if you're going to try to get your drone out of a tree with this, I mean, this is a really good drone retrieval tool. You can watch my video, 17 best ways to get a drone out of a tree. It's really good. But if you get it hooked on a branch, it ain't never coming back. So, think about it. Exploding Evo says Drone Saver is... Oh my god, we have so many super chats. Wow, I'm so behind. Drone Saver is the bomb. My friend uses this to recover my RC plane. I do think it's a good product. You just have to know its limitations. Cypress D Hobblicious, thanks for a $5 super chat. Thanks for being you. On the Xylo F4 board for the JB build, can you soft serial DSM for an RX? No. Do not soft serial your receiver. Receiver protocols are way too important to trust to soft serial. Soft serial anything else, but not a receiver. Maybe you could, but you shouldn't. But the thing is, on the Xylo F4 board for the JB beginner build, there's plenty of UARTs. You should absolutely have a spare UART that you can use. Any UART RX pad can be used for DSM. Thank you, Micah Sturdivant, for a $5 super chat. Is the Happy Model Cine 8 good? What's the best Cinewoop under $150? Oof, under $150? All the Cinewoops I know that are pretty decent are closer to $200. So the Happy Model Cine 8, I don't know it specifically, but Happy Model in general makes okay stuff, but sometimes inconsistent quality. So I couldn't vouch for the Happy Model Cine 8. And I'm not sure, what is the Happy Model Cine 8? Is that an actual Cinewoop? It is. It's an actual Cinewoop. What's the best Cinewoop under 150 bucks? That's pretty low. That's pretty low for a Cinewoop. It's an 85 millimeter though. So is it really a Cinewoop? Oh, I see. That's weird, man. It's an 85 millimeter drone designed to carry a Insta360 Go. It's not really I guess it's technically a Cinewoop. I don't know, man. I don't know if this is any good. I certainly couldn't vouch for it just based on the brand. It might be good, but I wouldn't assume so. And when you say you want a Cinewoop, like what's a good 85 millimeter? The problem is pretty much every 85 millimeter, like maybe Newbie Drone makes a solid one. Most of the 85 millimeter vendors like Happy Model, Beta FPV, they are really hit or miss when it comes to build quality. And it's hard to just be like, yeah, get that one. So I don't know what the best is. I'm not sure I would recommend. Yeah, this is pretty undersized for the weight it's pulling. It looks pretty, it looks really heavy for the motors and props it's choosing. Oh, that's a good one. The Beta 95 God edition. I mean, yeah, that's a great choice. It's not under 150 bucks. If God has worked with Beta FPV to develop this build, then it's probably, that's just the frame though. Where's the full quad? That's 20 bucks. Where's the full quad? You have to build it yourself, don't you? I don't think that's what this guy wants. Yeah, that's not for sale as a ready to fly though, is it? Thank you, Ron Grant, for $5 more. Do you think DJI will make a flight controller and ESC for FPV? Ron, DJI already has flight controllers and ESCs for their camera drones, so we know they know how to do it. The DJI NASA, for example. When I first heard that DJI was getting into FPV, I thought, if DJI makes a digital FPV system that only works with their own flight controller, they will take a huge chunk out of the hobby market. And I was very happy to hear that they didn't do that. DJI has built compatibility with Betaflight flight controllers. And to me, that signals that they are interested in, at least for the time being, interested in a kind of a healthy cooperation with the hobby market. They could make a great flight controller and ESC without thinking twice, because they just have that much experience and engineering resources and money. The fact that they made their system compatible with Betaflight at all, I hope is a sign that they don't intend to do that. Because if they did that and then made their FPV goggles compatible only with their own flight controller, a whole lot of people would switch. They'd be just like, bye Betaflight, I'm flying DJI now. But it doesn't seem like they intend to do that right now. Coelho FPV, thank you for $5. Where do I find and download the hex files for ESC hardware? Like, Coelho, you get that inside Beal Heli Suite. Get that inside Beal. You don't actually download the hex. I mean, you can download the hex. No, not for Beal Heli 32. For Beal Heli 32, you cannot download the hex files manually. It's locked up behind DRM. So for Beal Heli 32, you need to start Beal Heli Suite, and you need to flash from within Beal Heli Suite. That's the only way. Jameson Hinton, thanks for $1. Jackson Morse, thanks for $5. I've heard of people putting Crossfire on an RC car. How is this possible? The Crossfire receiver can output servo signals. It doesn't have to talk to a flight controller. And an RC car is just run off of servo signals. It's no big deal. You just need to set the output to a PWM signal instead of a Crossfire signal. All Digital FPV is vouching for the Beta FPV 85X HD as a good 85 millimeter quote-unquote Cinewoop under 150 bucks. Fair enough. Noisy Boys Garage, thanks for a $3 super chat. Called first on the list locally for the DJI combo. Good luck, man. Hope you like it. Todd Tube, thanks for a $5 super chat. Why would I use the newer pancake style motors over standard motors on a 4-inch build? Todd, what I hear from guys like Kebab, who seem to know what they're talking about motors, is that the wider pancake style motors give more torque and better control, especially at low throttle. The taller motors may have more top end, but especially when you're close to overpropping the motor, what you need most is torque. So if you're putting a 4-inch prop on like let's say a 1406 motor, I know 1406 isn't a super common size. I intentionally undersized the motor compared to like a 1408 or like you would have maybe on a 4-inch prop. Anytime you have a slightly oversized prop, you need torque to get the best handling. And by going to like a 2004 motor, you start to get that torque, even though it costs you some top end. Flying 4-inch bi-blades on 2004 motors on my Catalyst Machine Works Shocker 4-inch is so much better than like, I remember flying 4-inch tri-blades on like 1407 Brother Hobby motors way back when, and thinking, wow, 1407 is really is not enough motor for a 4-inch prop. So 14 pi r squared, 14, so it's 7 squared times 3.14, 153 cubic millimeters for a 1407 motor. Let's see what a 2004 is, just to compare. 10 millimeters squared times 3.14 is 314. Oh, so it's nearly twice as big a motor. Well, that doesn't really count. Interesting. 1407 is 153 cubic millimeters. 2004 is 314 cubic millimeters. It's a much bigger motor. Maybe those pancake motors are actually also way bigger, and we just doesn't seem like it. I don't know. Bad Habit RC, thanks for a $5 super chat. Have you ever used an app or software to stabilize any video? I have used Real Steady Go. I haven't used any other third-party apps. Actually, I guess I've used the Insta360 app because that's just how it works. Should I bite the bullet on a SMO 4K naked? I need something light for a 3-inch Cinewoop. There is an app out there. We talked about it in the FPV news with JB and It's Blunty. That is going to be tomorrow at 6 p.m. We'll have another batch of news. We talked about this stabilization app in one of the recent shows, if not last week's, then maybe the week before. It's free, it's open source, and it looks like it works pretty freaking good. Maybe I should just shut up and go look it up and actually tell you what it is instead of just pointing you. All right, fine. I'm going to guess it was this one. Yeah, GyroFlow. That's it. I'm going to point you to this video. So what you want to look at is Bad Habit RC. You take a look at this video, which is GyroFlow. It's a free open source stabilization tool. See if it works for you. Evan, thanks for £5. When will we get the JB Perfect Freestyle build? When I don't know. Is there going to be a JB QAV-S? Maybe. Getting prototype parts. Brian Harrell has cut the prototype parts for me. One of his kids tested positive for COVID, so he had to quarantine for a couple weeks. I don't know exactly why that prevented him from putting it in the mail, but okay. He said he wasn't going to be able to mail it out to me. He was like, hey, can you come by and get it? And I was like, didn't you just say your kid tested positive for COVID? And I was like, hey, can you mail me those parts? And he was like, yeah, I can't get to the mailbox. I was like, okay. So when will it be ready? I don't know. I've been talking about it for over a year. It'll be ready when it's ready. I know you want it. I want to give it to you. I'm not going to give it to you until it's ready. Is there going to be a JBQAVS? I am thinking about that, and we'll see. I'm not going to commit to it before I have parts in hand to look at and test. CK, thanks for a $5 super chat. Coming from a Mavic Mini and I want to stay with cinematic flying. How about a 7-inch? I'm trying to stay cheap and just trade the Mini for a whole setup. The Mavic Mini costs like $400, so I think you could build a pretty good cinematic 7-inch for that price. If you want to stay cinematic and if you don't want to be near obstacles, a 7-inch is great. As you get into proximity, 7-inch becomes a little bit more prohibitive. 7-inch is not as good for like gap shooting compared to 5-inch or something. You certainly would never fly a 7-inch like close to people. But if mostly you're flying outdoors and you could fly like proximity next to some trees and stuff, maybe some gaps, but it's not going to be the most nimble. 7 inches would be a fine choice for that. Duck My Squee, thanks for $5 New Zealand dollars. Maybe yes or absolutely no. MR30 or MT30 connectors for quick change motors or freestyle and easy builds. So let's look up these connectors for people who don't know what they are. So MR30 are 3-pin. They're basically like XT30 connectors, but there's 3 pins. And they're for motors. So you can use them to easily change brushless motors. Personally, I don't change motors enough to make it worth soldering these up. The real advantage of connectors like this is if the motor and ESC comes pre-soldered with it already on there, then you can easily install the motors. Way back in the day, people used to sell ESCs with bullet connectors. Pull up a chair, kids. People used to sell ESCs with bullet connectors pre-soldered, and they'd sell motors with bullet connectors pre-soldered. And you wouldn't cut or solder, you just plug them in. But I'm not going to go to the hassle of soldering these up. I could just solder the motor to the ESC in the same amount of time. There are some people out there, like racers. Evan Turner is a proponent of this. I don't think he runs these on his personal rig. Maybe he does. But he says that if you need to do quick changes of motors, having a bunch of motors with these connectors on them can make it easy. I'm not sure it's worth the hassle to me. I don't change motors that often. So maybe yes if you change a lot of motors, but probably no if you don't. Jason Ross, thanks for a $10 super chat. Fletcher H, oh my God, we're almost caught up on the super chats. Fletcher H, thanks for a $5 super chat. I've been following you since your first Wizard X220 video. Yeah, that video got me so many subscribers. I made video about the Wizard X220, and at the time I kind of rolled my eyes and was like, this thing is so garbage. I mean, I say that with the love of Jesus, but I know so many people got into FPV with the Wizard, and for that, I respect it. But just objectively, it's a really garbage quad. So, you got into FPV on a garbage quad. There's nothing wrong with that. But I made that video, and some people were like, how dare you even give the Wizard the time of day? I got so many subscribers for that video. I wonder if I could find out how many. Hold on. Let's see if let's try this. Hang on. I gotta look this up. Wizard X220. HV. No, not the HV. Let's see. Wizard. How about just Wizard? Show all. There we go. Show all. Eachine Wizard X220 review. Analytics. Reach? No. I want reach? No views in the last 28 days? How dare you? This video didn't get any views in the last 28 days. Oh, sad. Let's see if I can... Impressions. Traffic source, no. Engagement? I just want to know... Subscribers, okay. Let's see. Since uploaded. That's not as many as I thought. 215 subscribers since uploaded? That seems low. Huh. That seems low. Well, there you go. Here's what it is. I'm going to take that video down. How about revenue? Are you... Oh, no, there you go. Okay, I looked at the CPM. $215 revenue from this video since uploaded. I guess it hasn't... Yeah, there you go. All right, well, I thought it was more subscribers than that. Still, worth doing. But there you go. Got a question in the chat from Delta Bravo Tech saying, the hardest thing I experienced with FPV is finding a convenient place to fly without causing issues. How do other people deal with that? What I recommend you do is you find a couple of acres out in the middle of Tennessee and just fly outside in your front yard, right? Everybody can do that, right? It's tricky. If you're in any moderately populated area, then finding places away from people is really tricky. If you go to a park, even if you go to the park early on a Sunday morning, there can be people out there, kids out there, and you just can't fly. One of the best ways is to hook up with your local community and find out where they fly. Wherever you are, hook up with your local community. The easiest way to do it is to find a local multi-GP chapter. Even if you're not into racing, hook up with your local multi-GP chapter just to meet other people who fly. Your local chapter might be a 30-minute drive away. Hey, suck it up. That's what you got to do. Once you find people, you'll get connected and you'll start to branch out and you'll maybe find somebody closer to you. But that's what you should do. Go to the multi-GP website, go to the chapter map, and look up someone in your area. I'm going to tell you some of my tips for finding places to fly. Some of you are not going to like these tips. Public schools. They're always empty on the weekend. Like, I guess in theory, at some times a year, maybe there'll be some extramural things going on. Okay, don't go there and fly your drone if anybody is there, you boneheads. Okay? Do not. But quite a lot of the time, public schools have really interesting architecture. They're really fun to fly. And quite a lot of the time, if you go at the right time of day or the right time of week, nobody's there. So you can just get some packs in. Now, all of the normal disclaimers about flying at public buildings apply. Don't freaking put a quad through the window. Don't break, don't damage, don't vandalize, etc. But it's a good place to fly. Yeah, schools are empty all the time now, says Dave5280. Indeed. Johnny 5 says, schools, Bardwell, you're giving away my secrets. I know. Public schools always have such cool architecture. I don't know why. And there are often consistent times when they're empty. And I have done a lot of flying at public schools, just in a random town somewhere in the country. You just look up an elementary school, and you go fly it. You just do it. Another one that is often good is churches. Churches are often great big buildings, sometimes with interesting architecture. Again, be safe, be responsible. Don't put a quad through the stained glass window. If you do, man up and, leave a note or leave your insurance or just, I don't know, just don't do it. But churches are often empty. And frankly, I'm not making this up. We were flying at a church once, and somebody came up, and they were like, hey, what are you guys doing? And we were like, oh, crap, here it is. Pack it up, guys. We're about to get kicked out. And this guy's like, hey, I'm the youth pastor at this church. You guys seem pretty cool. What are you doing? Yeah, let me look in the goggles. You're fine. You're welcome to fly here. I was like, oh, now we have permission. So, yeah. Anyway. Those are some thoughts. Anyway. Flying at beaches, out over the water, up and down cliffs, says Duck My Squee. Beaches are tricky because, I mean, if there's people there, you can have problems. Sometimes it's sparse enough that it's not an issue. Sometimes you can find empty playgrounds. Like, parks are great if you can find a time when the park is empty. If there's people there, though, then you're screwed. I got a parking garage I fly in that's always empty on Sunday. I just found it. There's the other thing. Every time you are out of your house, you're looking around and you're thinking, could I fly there? Could I fly there? You're always scoping out spots. Like this parking garage I found where I do my range testing. I just was driving around one day. I was like, oh, there's a parking garage. Let's see what's the deal. And it just turns out it's always empty on weekends. There you go. Government buildings are risky. Like, I wouldn't fly a federal building. Like an elementary school? Who cares? I wouldn't fly a federal building, obviously. I think that goes without saying. Obviously, like, if it's like a freaking courthouse or something, no. Don't be dumb. Anyway. Trespassing. If you go down and you have to retrieve your quad, and that involves something that someone might consider to be trespassing, you could be in trouble. The laws everywhere are different, but in general, they will ask you to leave before they call the cops on you. I have been in one situation where there was a no trespassing sign, and someone went and retrieved a quad. And the next thing that happened, and then we just flew some more. And the next thing that happened was the sheriff showed up. The security guard watching on camera didn't come give us a warning. He was just, this was the nuclear silos in Seattle. It wasn't in Seattle. It was in somewhere wherever we were with Free Fly. And apparently these nuclear silos are so popular that the guards just do not mess around. Like, the minute they see you cross the fence, they just call the cops. They don't give you a warning. So the cops came, and it turned out that there was an open gate that did not have a no trespassing sign on it. And the person who retrieved the quad said, oh, I didn't climb the fence. I went through that gate. The gate was open. I didn't see the sign. And that was just enough plausible deniability that the cops let him off with a warning. But usually, if you're being sort of polite and respectful and not making a nuisance of yourself, usually no one cares. And if they do care, they will ask you to leave before they call the cops. Like, if it's a construction site, no, you're going to get the cops called instantly. But usually, yeah. But, you want to fly. That's what Turtle Mode's for, right? Toady RZ, the way trespassing usually works in the USA, obviously different states have different rules, and maybe that's different where you are, but my understanding is the way it usually works is that, like, if I'm inside your freaking living room and you didn't invite me to be there, perhaps that's something. But if there is, like, let's say there's just a field and there's no fence, and I walk across the field, and you say, hey, you're on my property. I'm like, I don't know, I'm just walking across a field, right? You need to be told that you're on private property and you're not welcome there before then the cops will say you're trespassing. So if there's a fence, that starts to establish that maybe you shouldn't be there. But hey, there's a fence. Well, maybe, who knows? Maybe the fence is to keep the dogs in. So the general standard is a fence with a no trespassing sign is a clear indication that you're not supposed to be there. And if you are there, you can start getting in trouble. Fart police, I think a good name there, fart police. You need to be trespassed before it's a crime. Yeah, so I have thanks Drew, thanks Rotor Riot for corrupting me and getting me in trouble. No. We were flying at this one location, and apparently the Orlando crew had gotten kicked out of that location before and thought that it would be okay to come back. And the guy who was there had had enough and called the cops. And the cop came up and took all of our licenses and said, okay, it's official. I have your information. You're not in trouble now. But if you ever come back here again, you're going to get, I don't know if you go to jail or if you get a ticket or whatever. But this is it. This is your official warning. So yeah, we don't go there anymore. You got us. Mike Bergman, that time we abandoned Stingy, that was a little different. That was in Puerto Rico. Yeah. Yeah, I guess you probably wouldn't get arrested for trespassing. Let's see here. Thank you, Fletcher H., for the $5 super chat about the Wizard X220. Coelho FPV, thanks for a $5 super chat. How do I fix the iFlight BLH 32 Pro Rev 32.7 firmware is not available in the BLH 32 app? Make sure you're on the latest app. Otherwise, ask iFlight what the correct target is for the ESC. Contact iFlight support and ask them. No question. What if a quad falls in a fenced area and you have to cross the border to get it? Asks Avi Guha. Yes, that's the problem. That is the problem. If you are flying from outside the fence, you are probably not breaking any laws, and you are probably, you're not trespassing. If you crash and you have to climb the fence to get your quad back, now you're trespassing, potentially. So, turtle mode, baby. Turtle mode. Yeah. Bearded Billy FPV, thanks for a $5 super chat. Would you be interested in a prototype frame I'm working on? Just looking for feedback. Bearded Billy, if you would like to send me photos of it, I will take a look at it and tell you my thoughts. I am probably going to really let you down. Because I think most frame designs are not super inspiring. I'm just going to be straight with you. Most frame designs are not that original. They're just another sort of take on something that's been done before. Now, you're working on this frame. It's your baby. It's your love. It's the fruit of your loins. And in that respect, I would never discourage you from doing it. But if you're asking me for feedback on it, it's very likely that I'll just kind of go, yeah, it looks pretty good. I'll give you honest feedback though. But I just want to set your expectations. Sway, thanks for $3 Australian. Have you seen the smaller HD camera from Beta FPV? Nope. What is he talking about? Does Beta FPV have a DJI camera? Do you mean the naked Caddx Vista? Sway, what are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about. Fletcher H, thanks for a $5 super chat. My X220 broke on its first flight because the FC orientation was incorrect. I immediately bought the parts and built my own with your guides. Wow. Bad news, dude, but I'm glad you built your own. Josh Fisk, here's a couple of bucks for decongestant. Thanks, Josh. Oh, yeah. Sway may be talking about the Naked Vista. Naked Vista is a thing. Enough people have been flying Naked Vistas that I think that they're okay to run. They would not just burn themselves up. Junus in the Discord wants to know, what's the name for the connector on a FreeSky XSR-M receiver? I wonder if it's a Pico blade. Pico blade? That doesn't narrow it down much because there are different pitches and sizes, but there you go. Bill for 14886. Thank you for a $10 super chat. Should I upgrade my 3 quads to Luminaire Lux F7 board so I can run Betaflight 4.2? I have the Lux F4 now. Bill, I definitely think that upgrading to a modern flight controller might be a good step. I believe the Lux F4 didn't have OSD on it, if it's the one I'm thinking of. So that's a big step forward. I do not recommend the Lux F7, I'm sorry to say. I have had some bad experiences with the Lux F7 that maybe GetFPV has fixed it since then, but I did a training, and as part of the training, they bought like 30 Lux F7s to build, and so I had a freaking sample size, and the failure rate on those things was just unacceptable. Dead voltage regulators, bad gyros, etc. And they said that this was not, they said that they had been using them for a while and they had the same problems. And I was just like, okay, this one's just off the list for me. I'm sorry to say that. Luminaire, I've always said that Luminaire, the great thing about Luminaire is that GetFPV stands behind their products. And it's true, they do. If you get a bad Luminaire product, GetFPV will take care of you. Nobody's perfect. The JBF4 flight controller had 9-volt regulators failing. Unacceptable. I'm certainly not pointing fingers at anybody else that I would not point at myself. But if you know that there's a product out there that is consistently having problems, and then saying, oh, well, you know, if it goes bad, then I'll just get a free one to replace it. Then you could still lose your quad. You could still have to waste time replacing it. I would steer you towards a different flight controller than the Lux F7. Private Island FPV, thank you for a $5 super chat. You guys are going to have to back off on the super chats because it's going to be 10 p.m. and I'm going to cut the live stream and I may not read your super chat. We're getting close to the end of the stream. By the way, Aaron Ciotti is going to be streaming at 10 on his channel. Go ahead and start posting those links there, buddy, to your live stream. Welcome to the channel, New Nathaniel Z. Just discovered your channel. Your Betaflight tutorials really helped me out. Thank you. CJ Fowler, GetFPV says, GetFPV screwed me on 2-day shipping. Never made it right other than refunding the shipping cost. What can they do? What do you want to give you free gear? I mean, so if they screwed up on the 2-day shipping, I'm not sure what they can do other than refund you for the shipping, and so you're like, okay, well, you didn't get the accelerated shipping. I mean, it sucks if you needed something on time and you didn't get it. I mean, I guess what I'm saying is, CJ Fowler, what did you want them to do other than that? Private Island FPV, thanks for a $5 super chat. And another $5 super chat. If one horizontally flips their FPV feed and then reverses their yaw and roll controls, can you fly your old spots as new? Yes, you can. Drew did a video about that. I wonder if you saw that video or heard about it. You can horizontally flip your camera. Some cameras support this. And then you also reverse your yaw and your roll controls. And you can totally fly. But it mirror images your familiar spot, so it feels different. It's crazy. If you really want to screw with your mind, flip, roll, and yaw, and then try to fly like in the simulator. Don't do it in real life. It's so hard. I just told you the answer, Private Island. You're fine. Oh, man. Aaron Ciotti, what are you doing? What are you doing tonight, Ciotti? He's doing giveaways and Q&A. Excellent. Alrighty, guys. It's 9:59 p.m. We're coming up on the end of the stream. Thank you guys so much for coming out. It has been really fun chatting with you. My lava lamp is on, Ciotti. Can you not? It's on. I can't open up my camera any more than that. It is on. The camera's just not picking it up. It's totally on, though. I promise. Thank you, 507RC. Yeah. CJ Fowler, I hear you, man. The least they could have done is like reach out and apologize instead of being super awkward. I get that. I mean, a little bit of just politeness. If they're just like, say, yeah, there you go, we refunded you, shut up, go away. Just like being like, hey, sorry, man. Yeah. Scarecrow FPV is here. Hey, man, good to see you. But I'm leaving because it's time for Ciotti's stream. Thank you guys so much for coming out. I'll see you tomorrow at 6 p.m. for the news. We'll be talking about FPV news. It is up on my channel, and that's going to do it for now, though. Have a great stream, Ciotti, and you guys have a great night, and have a great week. It's not 240p. It's 1080. I'm broadcasting at 1080. You son of a... Bye, everybody.